Open is the organization of Pakistani entrepreneurs in North America, which is like the largest network of successful Pakistanis in tech. It's active in like 13 cities around the globe. Karachi and Islamabad as well. But Silicon Valley is like the strongest chapter. And Idris here is the founding member of Open Silicon Valley. He was the only Pakistani on the board of TIE, which is the Indus Entrepreneurs, when it started, which is a huge honor. We'd love to start with how you started. So your early life, where were you brought up? In Karachi, obviously, but how were you as a child, and how was your early life or family?
Actually, that's pretty depressing because I was not a good student. I was terrible.
Just like
I'm a second division metric. Imagine division, and the division, the way they're assigned back then, or I don't know how it is now, but back then, if you made 60%, which should be failure in the United States, you got first division, which really shouldn't be. It should be over 90. To get an A in US, you score 90. So if you scored 60, you got first division. I couldn't even score 60% marks. So my percentage was 55. So I was not even mediocre. If I had been in US, I would have been an F. I would have been a flunky, which, with all due respect, is what I deserve. Then I went through Inter, and again, I didn't qualify to go to NED. Then somewhere down the line, so all the flunkies who do not make it to NED college or Dow Medical, if you either become a doctor or an engineer. And so the flunkies go to do BSc at Karachi University. You go to Bachelor of Science. It's a 2-year degree, and you take math, physics, chemistry, something like that in science, and you get a BSc. But if you do get BSc and you want to get into NED, you can apply and you get first preference. So since I had not gotten admission into NED, I didn't know that I was 2 years younger than all the students next to me. How do you know? As a child, if your parents stick you in a class at an early age by lying about your age, you don't know that you're younger than others, right? You don't go out and ask your age, kitne saal ka hai, right? So I didn't know that. When I graduated from Inter, I found out that I was actually 2 years younger than most of the guys who graduated with me. So I said, I can do BSc and then go back to engineering because like 2 years I've got an extra. Free mein mil gaya mujhe 2 saal. So I went to BSc and I graduated, and of course, now it's because all the good ones are already gone to NED. These were all mediocre, so I was a position holder in the mediocres, right? So I went to NED to get admission, and I'm supposed to be first preference and position holder, so I should be number 1 on the list, right? My name was not even on the list. They refused me admission on the grounds that I had too many subjects. Karachi University had introduced statistics that year, so you get math, physics, and statistics as 3 courses, but in their syllabus for NED, they had not changed that. So when you go to NED, this says math, physics, math, chemistry, or physics, chemistry. ये तीसरा subject कहाँ से आ गया? ये तो हम नहीं accept करते. So they refused me admission. Now imagine I was 18 years old. I'm already ahead of all the students. I've topped in the city in BSc, and they don't give me admission. So I go to the principal of that school, who's Hashmatullah Lodi. He's the father of the gentleman who's currently the vice chancellor of NED. And he advised me, and I still remember that advice, and I use that in my lectures. He said, son, all your life, people will tell you, no, even though you deserve something, don't take no for an answer. I was 18 years old, and somehow that stuck in my mind. So I went home, asked my parents, and that my principal wants me to sue the engineering college which I'm going to be admitted into. And luckily my family supported me. So I sued them in the high courts of Karachi, and I won. And that's what started my career. So I went to... So Pakistan does have a system that does work. In my case, at least, it worked. Once I got into NED, then it was clear sailing because I had already had 2 extra years of education than my partner. So I did okay. So my first division then became real first division afterwards. So that's my starting point.
And you met Saeed Kazmi at NED.
I met Saeed Kazmi at NED.
He's your business partner.
He's my business partner.
Since the past 35 years.
Yes. We started the first company we started in 1981. We started 1980 or 81. We started consulting on the side. We started moonlighting. I'm a chip designer by trade. I design basic chips. And the technology that was coming into the valley at that time, the Silicon Valley was not even termed Silicon Valley. It was San Jose, California. So I landed there in 78 and we started the company in about 1980. And from that point on, we have been together. We have built a lot of companies. We have also shot a lot of companies in the backyard. We only talk about the companies that we were successful in. We never talk about the companies that we killed in the process. But I'm a firm believer that success doesn't teach you much. But failure really drives the point home. We learned some lessons that I would not have otherwise learned had I been successful in every company. So those that went down, and I tell you, those were, looking back at it, those were not bad ideas. We actually built a reader, a book reader in 1981, before any one of these, Apple or any of these came around with the tablets, right? So we built a tablet way ahead of its time and lost in the process. We also built a GPS system. So we used to take the little antenna on the top of the car, run the wire through the door, to close the door, and have the little tablet, or had our tablet that we built, and go around without having the Google Maps. Now imagine trying to get GPS system without maps that comes from. So we actually digitized. There's a company called ECAD that has the US Geological Department's data. We digitized that in graphics, if you can believe that. Put all the freeways into one file and had the car and had the dot running around, just like you have today, dot running around telling us which you were in. And we lost in the process. So those are not bad products, they were bad timing. So that's one thing I learned. So timing is everything. So.
Absolutely. So how you were at NED, say was at NED. How did you move to the US? What was the process? You did a master's in between.
Yes, so we both of us. I mean, this is a trend at the time that everybody who did well in NED or a doctor, they went to US, right? So chalo America chalo. So I went to IIT Chicago. He went to Oregon State University in Corvallis. Then we. Both, I went to IIT, I did my master's, I got dropped, started PhD courses but dropped out. And then I went to work in the area, I worked for about 4 or 5 years. And then I was visiting Silicon Valley or San Jose area because my brother was there. And over the weekend, everybody asked me to give them my resume. Because everyone got $1,000 for referring a person. The jobs were so plentiful. So I didn't have to do much. I didn't have to know much. If you can sign your name with the left hand, you had a job. Then salary was literally double in the process. So of course I moved to California. You have a young kid. You're living in Chicago in the cold weather. Somebody offers you a job with twice the money. California, you move to California. So I have no genius in being in Silicon Valley at the right time. It was purely by accident. And that's when Saeed also had come from Oregon State and we were both working for companies. And then one thing led to another.
So which was the first company you started and which was the first failure? If you can talk about that.
Well, let me tell you how the first company started. Okay. So there are, how many of you get together on Saturday night for a plate of biryani? Come on, all of you do. Come on. It may not be biryani, maybe nihari or something.
Yeah.
So there's 16 of us, right? All 20-something whippersnappers from Pakistan. Everybody knew everything. Right? At that age, you know everything, right? Everybody else.
Yeah.
It's okay. And so we are all talking about how our bosses were so bad. Everybody's boss didn't know anything. They knew everything. I, of course, knew more than anybody else. Right? So we all had this discussion after a good plate of biryani and a nice set of legal or illegal drinks or legal or illegal smokes. We finally at 2 a.m. in the morning, we decided we're going to start a company. We're all going to get together tomorrow for breakfast at 8 a.m. We're going to start a company. 2 people showed up. We're still partner for the last 35 years.
Wow.
So the key is when opportunity strikes, at least be present. Right? Show up. So all of you that are showing up over here, you never know. And I also tell people, this room, this gathering, these people, my being here, will never happen again.
This
Never,
really
ever,
make it.
ever happen again. Right? So whatever we exchange today is going to be unique in its way.
Yeah.
If I can somehow turn on one bulb, one light in your head, if I can create one thought that would be a dot that you will connect later on in life, my job would be done. So that's what I'm doing.
So Silicon Valley is called Silicon Valley because of chipset. And you're from that industry. You probably helped make it Silicon Valley. So what were like the first things or products that you worked on? I know we've discussed this there, but for the public, like what were the products, the company? Like how did the first company shape up after that moment?
We had no freaking idea. We got together for breakfast, used to start a company. First thing is the name of a company. What do? You take all the buzzwords from the industry. It's semiconductor industry, you take semi. It's logic design, you take logic. It's custom, so custom chips, you take custom. So we named it semi-custom logic. No sense. I mean, absolute. Looking back at it, it's the worst name you could possibly pick, right? It meant nothing to anyone. But we thought it was. So we named the company. We had no idea what we were going to do. All I knew was how to design chips. And all Saeed knew was how to. He was in a PAL company, which is programmable array logic, which is now programmable chips today. And I was designing chips by custom, taking small scale integration chips and making them onto one chip. So combine 100 chips into one chip was something I did. So we both said, I will start this company. And people started giving us jobs, contract jobs. So we started surviving on just doing services for others. Lo and behold, somebody from Intel came around and said, Intel is making this new processor. So we're out in the field, right? When you're hanging around fishermen, every now and then a fish will come around that with your name on it. So this guy from Intel came around and said, who's a good friend of ours, and said, Intel is making this processor, but leaving this logic outside. So my middle name is Logic, right? My company name is Semi-Custom Logic. Yeah, we know how Logic is. We can customize it. So we made one small chip, which had the NRZI encoder, decoder, which Intel had left out. And so we built that chip and we thought, we're going to make millions. What we forgot was selling. We had no idea how to sell chips. We didn't know that people don't buy chips unless you have a second source. If you're the only one making and you go under, what will happen to my boards? I can't find those chips. We had no idea. So we made a chip. All the money we sunk into making the chips, we made it back by selling samples. Nobody bought it in production. Once they found out that we were a two-people company, they bought the samples. They paid us good money for samples. But after they tested and they came back and said, okay, how are you going to produce this thing? We had no answer. It was a total failure. So our first chip that we made was total failure. So we had no idea what products we built. We just jumped in without thinking about what we'll do. So you guys are way ahead of me. At least you know what you want. Most of you know what you want to do, right? No? Maybe. Whoops.
So that was the first company, the first chip. So how did you learn selling them? How did the next step shape up?
One thing I found out that if you really come to play every day, good things happen, right? So we were there. We did not get discouraged. We didn't get that chip to sell it by millions, but we learned a few things in the process, few lessons in the process, and we said we'll hang around. We won't go away. I have actually paid my mortgage bill on credit cards, so we took risks, right? And somehow, some way, we came across an opportunity which became the opportunity of a lifetime. So IBM had just introduced a machine called PC-80. It ran at a whopping 6 megahertz per second. A 6 megahertz clock, right? Today you are buying 4 gigahertz. This was 6 megahertz machine. It was a PC-80. It had about 200 or so odd chips, small scale integration, large scale integration TI chips on it. I knew how to put them into one place, but I didn't know how to. If it had a schematic attached to it, I could put that into, and I could integrate that. If it didn't have a schematic, I didn't know what to do. So that was black magic to me. Saeed, on the other hand, my partner, knew if the product was programmable array logic, he knew how to decipher the fuses in there. So he figured out one part of the circuit, I figured out the rest of them, and together we had enough intelligence. What I thought was black magic, he knew. What he thought was black magic, I knew. So together we figured out what was on that board and we made a 5-chip chipset. So if anybody knows, there's a company called VIA Technologies, VIA. And we went and got funding from Fujitsu, saw us making the chips because they were selling, and we had them as foundry. So we got funding from them. So the first $1 million we raised was in 1989. And $1 million meant a lot of money at the time. Today, I don't know if you probably get the seed money more than that. But at that time.
So not in Pakistan, but
yeah,
a couple of
at
companies.
Silicon Valley, 1 million doesn't cut anything.
So here 1 million is a lot of money.
So that was our first company. We did the chipset. We raised that company. We grew that company. We also made some cardinal mistakes. We took money from our supplier and we took money from our customers. They were both on our board. So when we went out for a cup of coffee, those guys were both talking. One knew what the cost was, one knew what the price was. That's a cardinal mistake. You never do that. And we made that mistake. So basically, we were buying the chipset for $12 from the supplier and selling it for $100 to the buyer. And they were both on our board and they both knew the pricing. Next week, the pricing for the chips went down because they knew what the cost was, right? So that was the mistakes we made. But then we were able to sell the company and we actually survived.
So what was the next company, or what happened after you sold your first company?
Well, after we sold the company, we went back to the but the original company, Semi-Custom Logic, never went away. We basically went to VIA, the consulting company was still there, somebody else was running it. We went back to that and we started getting, the industry was on the upswing, we started getting contracts and we built some boards for IBM. And one of the things I made was a voice over IP PC that would allow you to do communications for free. In 1991, we had a voice over IP server that would allow you to communicate, make worldwide calls for free. Internet just come around and didn't go anywhere. It was totally busted. Nobody said voice over IP would be anything. Threw us out of the conference rooms. We never got funded. In the process, someone came to us and said, if your guys are that bright that you can do this, how about you do an encryption chip for us? And so we started learning encryption and we built a company called VPNet from it. And we got funded. Even at that time when we told people that we would go make security on the internet, everybody threw us out. Who needs security on the internet? Internet is never going to be a tool for business. It's just a college toy, which is what the blockchain is today. Yeah. So anybody who wants to work on blockchain, talk to me. And at that time, most people did not think that internet or browser will become this big a business that it is today. So we were very lucky again. We had the funding from a source that didn't come from Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley didn't give us any money. Our funding came from Chicago. Somebody who had invested money in a company that we were involved in or we were investors in, and they thought this would be a good thing, so they invested in us. We got very lucky and we created a company called VPNet. So the term VPN comes from the company VPNet that we created. So if you know what VPN is today, it actually not only its formula underneath, which is the simple key interchange protocol, comes from a Pakistani, Ashar Aziz, but the actual term VPN was coined by a Pakistani as well.
So where did VPN go? What was the journey with VPN?
We grew the company. We raised about $31 million in the process over the next 2 years. But remember, the curve was going up. The .com was coming up. We were the right place, right time. We raised $31 million and the company was sold to Avaya. So currently all the Avaya products which are in the security, encryption, network range, all our products, and we sold them and it's for pretty good markup.
Wow, that's amazing. So that was like your biggest exit, but was that your biggest exit?
That was our biggest exit.
And what other companies have you been involved with so far?
Well, since then, we decided to retire. So we went home and said, all right, we're not going to work anymore. We're old enough to retire. We became home laborers. Our wives put us to work in doing gardening and doing chores. We kind of said, no, this is not going to work for us. So we met for a cup of coffee and we said, all right, we want to start a company. So we then started a company and started hiring people and started thinking about new projects. And did a couple of projects here and there, didn't work. And eventually we came across someone who needed to make PCs secure. So the best thing about personal computers is that it is a personal, right? The worst thing about it is that it's personal. So if you want to put a personal computer in a hotel room, or in a hotel lobby, or in a business center, what will happen? I use it, I change something, you come in, you change something, somebody else comes and change something. So we created a technology called Fresh Start, where if you use a computer and you power cycle it, it goes back to the day one. So we created a technology called Fresh Start, and all of our Fresh Start technology was actually built in Pakistan. So we had a back office here, and all of our design was actually done by Pakistanis. So the Fresh Start product came from that. We created a company called Vertical Systems. We ran it for almost 12 years, and then we sold it a couple of years ago. We sold it to a larger company that does digital signage across. If you go in an American hotel and you see a digital signage about the flight schedules, or you print a boarding pass in the hotel, that's all our technology.
And in between you wanted to give back, you got involved with TIE.
I got involved with TIE after we sold our first company in about 96, 97 time frame. We sold the second company where we were doing that, and somebody came around and said there's an organization called TIE, and it's mostly Indians. I said, why do you ask me? What am I going to do if it's mostly Indian? The word Indian doesn't really exactly invite love from me. And so they said, no, there are no Pakistanis as well. So there was a friend of mine, Safi Qureshi, who was also the founder of AST Computers. And he said, no, this is all Indian Pakistanis together, and we built this organization. So I went and joined them, and I was on their first global board. And I learned a lot of things about networking. So I learned a lot of networking tricks from TIE. And then a few years later, when I was with TIE and I was on the global board, another group came around and said, because it's heavily Indian, a lot of Pakistanis would never join it. There's just something about that particular cultural background that we have that they will never come and join TIE because it is so overwhelmingly Indian. And so we started an organization called Open. I was actually totally against Open. I said, you don't need it, TIE is there, you really can work together with them. But Umair Khan convinced me that there is a market for Pakistani entrepreneurs, and so we basically started Open. And I was the first on the board, and then eventually became the president and the chairman of the board of TIE, and of Open. And Open is doing fairly well. In Silicon Valley, the largest chapter. We have Open Global, and if all of you don't know that, please come join. Networking is very important. I cannot emphasize the value of networking. It's just absolutely essential for success in business. You must know, as many people should know, the worst thing that can happen to your company is that you become the best kept secret, because then nobody knows about you, right? Don't be shy, go out, tell everybody what you're doing, network with people. You never know where new ideas come from.
What's kind of like one advice that you would give to this audience of Lahore in general?
I never give advice, I give opinions. But this is my opinion, right? If I had to give an opinion, I'll say come to play every day. Don't take your ball and go home. Don't get upset. Don't get discouraged. Don't get too euphoric either. Come to play every day. Eventually, my definition of luck is very different. My definition of luck is persistence, meeting up with opportunity. If you come to play every day, one day, something will happen. So come to play every day, come, whatever it takes, there'll be days when you don't want to come, but get up, come. I've made companies, I don't really need to work, I jump out of bed every morning, I still work pretty long hours. I'm here, I work 16, 18 hour days, and what else are you going to do, right? Otherwise, watch TV, just jump on it anyway. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.